that, yeah, it's all of it. It can't just be that you didn't like the location of the Royals Park. It can't just be that you were underwhelmed by the renovation plan. All of that together is how you lose by 16 points.
Correct. And so, look, I think you and I, like, if they had lost by a point, we'd probably come on this show. And you and I have this conversation of, oh, was it more the Chiefs' fault, more the Royals' fault, the location of the crossroads, the lack of transparency, all the things you just mentioned. But if you lose by 16 points, well, then they just told you they didn't like any of it. Then if the Chiefs were in a standalone vote, they'd have lost. If the Royals were in a standalone vote, they would have lost. There was no hope, apparently, from the very beginning, and everybody hated your plan. And that's what makes this kind of stunning in a way where you're like, all right, I got to open up some new possibilities. Because I'll be honest, if they had lost by a point, I'd probably come in here and be like, in what way will they reconfigure their messaging or their ask in a way that makes it plausible and reasonable that they could get this thing passed just in November instead? Losing by 16 points means you might want to reset your whole, like, it might not be that if you go back to Jackson County and the Royals, you try back for the East Village site, or you ask for a different amount of money, or for different terms. Like, so much of this can change. Honestly, I think it starts with the very first thing that you and I said. It was a completely disorganized rollout from the beginning that never seemed like it had any direction, and I think the teams screwed it up. And then I think Jackson County, if they were really interested in keeping the teams, screwed it up by pushing to the crossroads and doing all this thing. I think everyone just kind of bungled this thing, and we were all way off on how close it was going to be.
Yeah, no doubt. When you lose by that margin, there were so many things. And yesterday on the show, when Bink was in with me, we talked, and this was before even knowing the results, that there was no way this campaign was ever going to be used as like, hey, Exhibit A, this is how you want to run a campaign.
No.
If you're trying, there were clear issues. And while I still thought it was going to pass, we had brought up these issues. Sure. One thing we don't have, and this is what we'll do for the next hour and really for the next couple of days, and if we had a full 4-hour show today, we would open up the phone lines. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow because, again, right now we only have a 1-hour show with the Royals. I would love to know the breakdown of why individuals voted no. Because, like in a presidential election, you get exit poll data and you find out that, okay, the biggest percentage and concern of voting no or yes was blank. You ask 5 questions on the way out. Well, why did you vote no? A, was it public financing you didn't like? B, the transparency. C, the location. Like
4, screw billionaires.
Right, yeah, like whatever it may have been, and we don't have that breakout. Because if you're the Chiefs and the Royals, and we'll talk about what's next throughout this hour for each team, and you'll hear from Mark Donovan and John Sherman. They were at the watch party last night, obviously, and spoke. And I can tell you, they didn't take any questions. They walked off the stage. There were no questions.
It was embarrassing.
It was an embarrassing defeat. If you had exit poll, you could say, okay, it was only 10% of voters that voted no that thought it was just they didn't want to spend, no matter what, they didn't want to spend the money. If you knew that, then it's all about the messaging and it's all about the location and these things. Versus how much of it was just there's a group of people that will vote no for any publicly financed project that involves sports teams. There's a fraction. We know that exists. What that number is, I don't know. But if you knew the number and I told you it was, 20% or 30%, then to me there'd be no point of even rolling it back in Jackson County for either team because that's not going to change. Whatever you think happens from here, we're all guessing. Like I think every option is on the table. Some of that includes staying in Jackson County. Some of that might be leaving the state, leaving the county. Like everything's on the table. But if you knew, if you could guarantee and you had the data that showed that, hey, the percentage of people that voted no was mainly because of the publicly financed aspect, well, then there is no plan that the Chiefs or Royals could come back with in 18 months or 12 months or whatever and get you to change. And that's where it's important. I don't have the answer to that because if it's a large number that just voted because of the money, I don't think there's a solution in Jackson County. Now, if it was, hey, not trusting, you change sites last minute and all that stuff, which is a very fair argument, well, then that's something that can be corrected. I will point out, and you kind of alluded to it, you said Jackson County, and I think maybe it was the city, who knows. But when they announced, I don't know, John Sherman, was it 20 sites initially?
Yep.
And in that, the Crossroads was never included.
Correct.
East Village was, and that was always
because everyone knew that's where they wanted to be.
That's where they wanted. So their plan, and what led, I think, also to some of the terrible rollout and ultimately the finish, if you're planning all along for the East Village site, if you're the Royals, and then towards the end, you are convinced to move to the Crossroads site, and there's plenty of rumors / reporting that are out there that perhaps the city, the mayor, may have pushed them towards the Crossroads site, then all of a sudden that wasn't your initial plan, then it's going to be rushed. And that's where, if you were going to have the biggest thing, we can talk about Frank White another day, but the biggest thing that he actually probably was correct on, which is once the site changed to the Crossroads, it was rushed because that wasn't the initial plan. Now, there's plenty of other reasons, like him taking a victory lap for trying to be the villain for taxpayers is hilarious to me. But as far as the
villain, he was a villain for taxpayers when they come to
the property tax. Yeah, the attorney general is investigating for him for that. But when you're thinking about the rollout at the end, that part probably is true. When you have a plan all along and you're forced or asked to switch at the last minute, that leads to a lot of confused messaging.
So I was trying to think about like ranking it out. But then the more I thought about it, this is what we were talking about from the problems from the beginning. They screwed this up so bad. They didn't just lose, like we said, they got crushed. But I was going back through and I'm like, all right, what were my biggest issues with everything? Take out because I think some people's issues are that. They'll always vote no because what you said, publicly financed stadiums, which is probably my personal biggest part out of there. But it wouldn't have stopped me if it wouldn't have stopped me from a yes vote. That part, my issue. But if you go back and you're like, that rush to site location, that's the city's fault. Everybody I've spoken to suggests that the Royals wanted to be in the East Village location and that the city and some other companies were like, no. We don't want you there. We want you here. And if this thing's going to work with Jackson County, we're going to approve this stuff. If the council's going to approve it, we need you here. And then they moved locations, and you're right, it felt rushed. But, man, I went back to that Chiefs plan. That part stunk. And even more so yesterday as it continued. This whole time, the Chiefs were never the voice. They never just stood up and said, this is for us. This is for the Chiefs. They just let the Royals take the bullets, take the lead, and I never thought, and I told you that from the beginning, I never thought that was a good strategy. Their whole plan in retrospect, I looked through the little highlighted piece, look at what we're changing at Arrowhead, and we're changing the way parking faces a little bit. Here's a garage. One of the only 20 things they highlight in the graphic is, look at a VIP road to get in. I'm like, this is one of the 20, you're doing 20 things to the stadium, and this is one of them? Because here's the truth. The Chiefs need this sales tax money to just keep up with making Arrowhead stay afloat. This goes back to the whole thing that we talked about with the concrete cancer stuff. The Chiefs were underplaying it and the Royals were overplaying it. But it isn't expensive. The upkeep on those stadiums is expensive, which is why you and I wanted a new stadium for the Chiefs anyway.
Yeah, we're going to talk about next options a little bit later on in the show.
Man, it was
stunning though last night. Not so much that it got defeated. Again, I don't want to act like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that people would have voted no on this. It is the margin of defeat that is so stunning to lose by 16 points.
Yeah,
and this goes back to clearly polling is not an exact science and is off because that was not anywhere near what any outlet in their polling or anything like that had come up with for this particular result. Even if you were trending towards heading in the late afternoon yesterday, maybe this was going to be a no vote. 16 points is just a stunning margin. And look, I think the next steps we can talk individually with the teams, and we'll hear from Mark Donovan in a second. But when you think about the actual plan and how it ultimately rolled out, the Chiefs are coming off back-to-back championships. The Royals, still within the last decade, I know we're coming right up on it, but within the last decade have won a World Series.
And just gave the biggest contract out in their franchise's history.
Gave a contract out to Bobby Wood Jr. Did these things that some people said mattered. And when you lose by 16 points, it didn't matter. Cody, the Royals could have won 5 World Series in a row. The Chiefs could have won 5 World Championships and Super Bowls in a row.
This plan was still failing.
It was not happening. And so the on-the-field stuff had zero factor clearly in this. And go ahead.
No, I was going to say the text line, they're talking about the margin of victory. They said, you realize how big Jackson County is? No, that's what was so stunning about the defeat. They lost everywhere. They lost in downtown Kansas City.
Yes.
They lost in the Crossroads. They lost in the East Side. They lost in absentee vote. They lost in every single portion of the metro. They didn't lose one part or one part held them down. They lost East Side, West Side, Central. They got. You don't lose by 16 points and win parts of the city. They lost the whole thing.
And for an April election, the turnout actually was really good. Now, we can, in the grand scheme of things, yes, it's unfortunate that 25% of people in a county are deciding the entire area, but that's just the system we have set up.
They have to pay
and
for
people,
it, so they get to vote for it. Sorry, that's how voting works.
No, I'm just saying, not talking about why Johnson County didn't get vote. I'm saying the fact, like, we can have this conversation about any election. People don't vote, right? So, like, we're all like, man, 25%, great turnout. It's 25%. That's just reality of unfortunately, turnout always stinking in elections. No, I'm not saying other people should have had an opportunity. I'm just acknowledging that 25% of people in a county decide, sway how Kansas City moves forward. That's a huge. That's why the vote. That's what we talked about as much as we did. It was a massive decision.
Voting is important.
So voting is important, and it was a massive decision last night. All right, let's start with the Chiefs, though, and what you think happens now. And you guys can text into 913-586-7610 because, as I said, I think every option is on the table now. I don't think the Chiefs are leaving the region, and that was always what I had said going into the vote, and I still believe that to be accurate. I think staying in Jackson County, that's still on the table. It's less likely than it was 24 hours ago. It was you could have guaranteed it that they wouldn't flirt with somebody else. But so Jackson County, another county in Missouri, obviously Kansas. Like, to me, those are kind of the three options right now.
They are now in an open relationship and seeking other partners.
And that was always the whole thing. And people got upset. It wasn't fear mongering. It's just now we're in the reality of if you were given an opportunity, which you were in Jackson County, to ensure that they didn't leave your county, you've now cracked the door open. It doesn't guarantee they're leaving, but the door is cracked open, and they will operate as any business will and see what the best deal is. And maybe that deal still is Jackson County for the Chiefs, but other options are in play now. Ultimately, how it plays out, I do think, unless we find out in another couple months, and you're going to see probably stories about what conversations maybe are being had with Kansas or whatever.
Starting probably next week or something.
It could. Like, I think it's more likely the Chiefs leave the state than it is the Royals. Does that make sense?
Agreed.
Based off
You're saying Clay, Jackson, whatever. You're saying the Missouri side still very much in play for the Royals.
With that said, we know the state of Missouri already lost one NFL team, and so are they good with losing another NFL team? And what does the state try to do, if anything, to step in? But if you're the state of Kansas, obviously, I mean, you've been waiting for a while maybe to have an opportunity like this, and now again the door is cracked open, and that's what's going to be really interesting to see play out over the next year, if not months.
So I think it is. I'll be honest. I know people will say incredibly premature to be like, well, I guess I'll cheer for the Nashville Royals. But relax. Relax. I do not think we are at that and I know everyone's a little different. I do not think we're at that stage. Do I think that some other some other state will try? Of course, every state's try all the time. These, pro sports teams are coveted. Do I think that either is interested to leave? This is actually one of the good things about why John Sherman owns the team. John Sherman loves Kansas City. He would like the team to be in Kansas City. That was the whole point. That's why for the last two sales of the Royals, the last two people to sell it sold it to someone who would be interested in keeping the team here versus an outside interest that would want to take the team elsewhere. I think at least one is going to take another crack at Jackson County. I think more than likely, I would guess that's the Royals because I think they are in love with downtown baseball or some version of downtown baseball, which is why I think they'll take a crack. But I also think they'll take meetings with Clay County again. Because remember, those conversations were so surface level. I know they dropped a rendering. They did not get into the actual details of the conversations with that at all. I think it's more likely, as you said, that Kansas will seriously flirt with the Chiefs now. Because she admitted the same thing we all know. The Chiefs and the Royals essentially told these other places, hey, we got to try to do this thing with Jackson County. We really appreciate your interest. We'll get back to you. But now that vote has failed, they will have real meetings with the legends or with whoever, right, to figure out if that's a possibility. Do you think I think somebody will take another round at Jackson County. The problem is now they get to talk to whoever they want. You lost your exclusive negotiation rights. That's all.
Yeah, you're going to seek the best opportunity and option, and that's that's their right to do as well. Just like everybody had that voted no had the right to say they didn't like this plan and there wasn't enough information. And that's the beautiful thing. Like yesterday, we had multiple people on the show, and Bob Kendrick was on with us, and he's a respected voice, obviously, in the community. And he said he voted yes, and he hoped people would vote yes. But he also said, then we have to obviously understand the will of the people, and that was what they wanted. And so that was the message that was sent, that plan wasn't good enough, and that you're okay with potentially risking either team leaving your county. And again, people get all like pissed off when I say that or anybody says that, but like that's just the reality of the situation. I'm not sitting here telling you 100% that the Chiefs are leaving Jackson County or 100% the Royals are leaving Jackson County. But what is a fact is the chance of them leaving the county, not the region, the county went up. It just did.
Of course it did. How could it not? I mean,
that's exactly what happened last night.
Yeah.
And
what percentage is up for negotiation?
Absolutely.
But it definitely went up.
Yeah, and someone says you guys are talking about the wrong teams leaving. The Royals are the ones that said that they were out at 31. Well, the Royals have said they're not playing at Kauffman Stadium no matter what happens. They're not playing at Kauffman Stadium after 2031.
Well, they still got a year and a half to figure out wherever they can build a new place.
And I'll play like Mark Donovan last night. I mean, this is what he said after question one failed at their watch party yesterday.
First and foremost, we've been talking a lot about the democratic process. We respect the process. We respect the decision of the Jackson County voters today. We're disappointed. We feel we put forth the best offer for Jackson County. We were ready to extend the long-standing partnership with the teams that enjoyed with this county. This is important. We want to thank everyone that worked tirelessly on our behalf. We truly appreciate all the effort, all the time, and all the work that you all put in. We will do and will look to do what is in the best interest of our fans and our organization as we move forward.
That last sentence is key. That before you were in, as you described it well, Cody, like you were in an exclusive negotiation with Jackson County. And now we can debate they said that was their best offer, and we can certainly talk about this in the next segment. Like, if that was your best offer, now are the best offer from a financial component, best offer from a renovation? I would argue that hopefully is not your best renovation offer. Now, financially, that might be the best offer they have for you in Jackson County, meaning that they know they have better offers, let's just say in Kansas or somewhere else. Like,
Sure.
I think there's some truth to that. But the last sentence that Mark Donovan said, and by the way, if you're wondering who was there, it was interesting. So throughout this process, we know John Sherman's been front and center representing the Royals
the entire time.
Mark Donovan's been the face of this really for the Chiefs. Clark Hunt was not there at the watch party last night. You had pretty much everybody else, but he was not there. There was plenty of other Chiefs representatives. There was plenty of brass from the Royals and obviously some local leaders. But Clark Hunt, I mean, I don't even know if he was in the state last night.
But again, that was the problem from the beginning, I told you, is that the Royals were the ones bearing the brunt of this. And then I thought the Chiefs heard it. And maybe that was the whole point. Maybe that's why they were staying out of it. Because the second the Chiefs stepped into it, it was like, oh, you didn't help at all. Your plan was not fun. And you and I talked about this. Look, there's still a good outcome that could come from this. Because in the end, you and I both wanted a new stadium for the Chiefs versus the renovation, especially versus the renovation plan they put out. But in general, we thought it made more sense, considering the way they're talking about this venue, that you should just build your palace, build your beautiful stadium for Mahomes and the crew going forward, and call it a day. And that is still now that's actually more plausible now than it was.
Well, the teams have actually more options than they've ever had.
Yeah.
From a team perspective. Not, you know what I mean? Like that's what's a little scary, I think, for some people after last night from if you're just, looking to retain your teams, it's like now you've opened the door for a lot of different possibilities. But from a team perspective, if you're John Sherman, if you're Clark Hunt, you actually have more options available than you did 24 hours ago. You just do.
Yeah, because again, you get to talk to everyone, have very serious conversations about everyone. And that's where we kind of inevitably run into this. Because really what comes into play is the next year is fascinating. Because look, I'd be stunned if somebody went back to a November ballot.
That seemed way too quick.
Yeah, agreed.
Way too quick.
Agreed. Look, you got accused of being rushed the last time because you can't just roll out the same plan. So the question is, if they both went, let's just say they both tried to go back to Jackson County to try to get something approved to be together again, what would they have to change, or what would they have to be more transparent about in order to get a 16-point swing? Not doable. Not the transparency part.
So.
You get maximum transparency doesn't get you to 16 points. Because the other thing that increased last night is the likelihood that they try to go alone. That they just try to do their own thing,
Cody,
separate from each other, get their own thing, make it seem like smaller dollars, make it seem like your own thing, and officially separate. What made that a challenge, obviously, forever is because these two have been tied together forever. But they were trying to separate. They were just trying to have a slow breakup. They said, hey, instead of breaking up tomorrow, what if we took 6 months together? And we just lived together and we just slowly stopped hanging out less. And then at the end of 6 months, we were broken up. So they're going to do that over 25 years. Now they might just have to break up.
No, I think they have to go at it separately now. Now, that doesn't mean they both can't stay on the Missouri side or whatever, but I don't know how you can just run it back with each team tied together again. And a lot of it, yeah, as you said, has to do with the overwhelming no vote to that particular plan. Yes, it's one particular plan. Like, I don't think it's fair to paint it with a completely broad brush and say Jackson County said they don't want the Chiefs and Royals. I know that's how some people are pointing.
No, I think they wanted a better deal than they were being offered.
I think that's generalizing it too much.
Agreed.
That is certainly part of it. I don't think it's as simple as just saying flat out Jackson County said we don't want the Chiefs or Royals in our county. They said no to that particular plan among maybe other reasons on top of it. But like someone that said you guys hate Kansas City, Missouri, and this is from the text line, and want a stadium in Kansas, but the Chiefs and Royals are Missouri's team. Stop trying to steal our team. First of all, that's just ludicrous. I've mentioned numerous times on the show. My entire life, I've gone to sporting events in Missouri. I have zero problem with that.
You're loving me into this? I live in Kansas City, Missouri, like 98% of my life.
If I had the opportunity to vote, I would have voted yes to keep the teams in Jackson County for sure, not open the door. I live on the Kansas side, but that's just absolutely ridiculous.
Are you trying to steal our teams, Gold?
Also,
you personally?
That last sentence is my favorite part, though, actually, of the text. Stop trying to steal our team. Again, last night,
I'm trying to steal
Jackson County had a chance to ensure the two teams would 100%, for 25 years the Chiefs, 40 years for the Royals, stay in Jackson County. They could have ensured it. They chose not to. And so the door is open. And people, again, I'll say that people will get all pissed off. We say, like, that's just the reality of the vote last night. That's what happened. Doesn't guarantee they're leaving, but it is more likely today that the Chiefs and or Royals are not in your county based on your vote. And
that was a choice you had to make, and you made it.
The majority, and plenty of majority of those that voted said they were okay with that risk. That's just where we're at.
Yeah. I mean, and again, that is 100% you're right. Just to make sure you do, but you took a chance. You're taking a chance because I don't think some people who voted in Jackson County just don't care if the teams leave the county at all, right? That's always the case.
Yeah, and someone says, like, the story is not 25% of people, Alex, that made this decision. Rather, 75% of county residents didn't care enough to show up and vote. Yeah, but that's just that's any election.
Generally,
yeah, I mean,
elections.
Hey, trust me, I wish 100% of people went out and voted. That's just not. I don't care whether we're talking about stadium vote, presidential election, gubernatorial. Like, that doesn't matter. Like that. That's just the turnout that we see. Yeah, it does stink. I'm with you that 25% of people can decide something, but that's just a long-standing reality of voter turnout. I don't know what to say to that.
Yeah, I mean, that's you're just talking generalized election problems, which is fine, but I mean, that's not unique to this situation. Actually, they got more people to turn out for this vote than normal.
It was, yeah.
Like, this was a hot enough topic that they had more people show up than a traditional April election, so at least there were more people who wanted to stand up and vote for this thing. But yeah, you took a chance. You absolutely did.
All right, coming up next, we'll keep talking about this, obviously. Keep opening your text, 913-586-7610. Just a one-hour show today because Royals baseball is on the air. We'll hand things off to Vern. But we'll hear from John Sherman and just how real the possibility is with some of these other options for both teams.
Cody and Gold, brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
There is a back-to-back Super Bowl champion, and it is the Kansas City Chiefs.
On your official broadcast partner of the Chiefs, 610 Sports Radio.
Spring is here, and it's time to spring into action to get into shape and feel great. Hey, it's Bob Fesco. I know there are so many options when it comes to home workouts. It can be overwhelming to pick out home fitness equipment. But not anymore. It's time to discover Johnson Fitness and Wellness stores. Their expert staff will help you choose the best home fitness equipment for you, for your unique goals, space, and budget. Johnson Fitness and Wellness has a wide selection of top-rated treadmills, ellipticals, strength equipment, rowers, and exercise bikes. Also, find the latest selection of massage chairs in Kansas City. Right now, get a free kit and massager with purchase of any massage chair or Matrix fitness equipment by mentioning 610 Sports Radio. Soon, you'll be seeing home run fitness results to get in shape and feel great. Johnson Fitness and Wellness is in Overland Park and Lee Summit. Visit johnsonfitness.com. That's johnsonfitness.com. It's Johnson Fitness and Wellness.
Congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs. Another year, another Super Bowl. Did you know that the Chiefs won their Super Bowl in their first year of their partnership with Window World? And here we are, 5 years in. The Chiefs are a dynasty, and they're still going strong with Window World as the official window of the Kansas City Chiefs. Window World windows are one of 2 windows with a good housekeeping seal of approval, ranked number 1 in number of windows sold in the country by Qualified Remodeler magazine. In just over 20 years of business, they have improved the look and thermal efficiency of over 54,000 customers right here in Kansas City. So be sure to call this number, 816-799-0820. Learn more about the double-strength glass that gives a strength that's not commonly used in replacement windows. Learn more about their products that are not only durable, but offer security, beauty, and energy efficiency. Give my friends at Window World a call. That's 816-799-0820. 816-799-0820 to learn more, or also go on the website, windowworld.com.
Baseball is back, basketball is heating up, and the NFL Draft is right around the corner. Listen to the latest on the teams you love with the free Odyssey app. The biggest sports radio stations in the country, providing unrivaled local coverage of their teams, all in one place. Exclusive interviews with players, coaches, and team executives, streaming live and always available on demand. Stay in the know with your favorite teams with Odyssey, AUDACY. Download the free Odyssey app today.
Angie's List is now Angie, and we've heard a lot of theories about why.
I thought it was an eco move. Fewer words, less paper.
No, it was so you could say it faster.
No, it's to be more iconic.
Must be a tech thing. But those aren't quite right. It's because now you can compare upfront prices, book a service instantly, and even get your project handled from start to finish.
Sounds easy.
It is, and it makes us so much more than just a list. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. 120,000 miles of night drives, daily commutes, and who knows how many.
Are we there yet?
Through countless fixes, elbow grease, and a new radiator, you kept your ride alive. With eBay Motors, you have over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Mom, I got the job in Manhattan.
Do you have a warm enough winter coat? What about your car?
I'm selling it with Kelley Blue Book Instant Cash Offer.
How?
I enter my license plate number, miles, condition, upload photos, and boom, an official cash offer from a local dealership.
A cash offer instantly? Oh, did you call Aunt Stella? She's right there in Massachusetts.
Mom, I literally just got the job.
Not everything is as simple as selling your car with Kelley Blue Book Instant Cash Offer. Price it, fix it, trade it, sell it, KBB.com it.
Space may be the final frontier, but it's also what a lot of us lack in our basement or garage. By switching to a Navien tankless water heater, not only will you have all the hot water you need whenever you need it, but you'll gain storage area as well. Maybe a place to display your space collectibles.
Highly logical.
Learn about Navien's series of high-efficiency tankless water heaters and how they don't just save space, but save dollars on your utility bills too. For more, go to tanklessmadesimple.com.
As an educator, Mr. Nelson's teachings are still being quoted in schools.
Education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world.
Mr. Nelson taught hope.
Everyone can rise above their circumstances if they are dedicated and passionate.
And giving our best efforts.
It's always impossible until it's done.
Mr. Nelson Mandela's teachings not only united a nation, they inspire us today. Inspiration. Pass it on from passiton.com.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for less. And for a limited time, new customers receive their second month free when they sign up and use promo code MONTHFREE by May 31st. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Getting your biggest tax refund from Jackson Hewitt can lead to some spirited reactions.
Jackson Hewitt!
Jackson Hewitt is so sure they'll get you your biggest refund that if they don't, you get your money back plus $100.
Jackson Hewitt!
Switch to Jackson Hewitt and we'll beat what you paid last year, even if you filed online. Ain't nothing to it. Switch to Jackson Hewitt and pay less for tax prep, guaranteed. Proof of prior year payment required when filing. New clients only at participating locations through April 7th. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com.
The other place with 4 great Kansas City locations, Shawnee, Olathe, downtown Overland Park, and now Mission. If you're looking for that one-of-a-kind game day experience with enough big screens that you'll never miss a second of the action, and you also want great food, great beer specials, and patio season to enjoy spring as we head into summer, it must be The Other Place, the perfect place to make your baseball headquarters this season. The Other Place, Shawnee, Olathe, downtown Overland Park, Mission, and Belton, opening up in May. Your home for this baseball season.
You can change your career in just 4 months. Go to Centric.com/610.
If you're ready to flip the script on your future, imagine transforming your life and career in just a few months with Centric.
You can do it as little as 3 steps or change your career in as little as 4 months. Go talk to our guy, Russ Mondry, and find out about that new career in IT. Go to Centric.com/610.
Won a baseball game tonight, but we didn't win this. We respect the democratic process. We respect the voters of Jackson County and the results of the election today. We're deeply disappointed as we are steadfast in our belief that Jackson County is far better off with the Chiefs and the Royals. This is a belief that I hold both professionally and personally as someone whose roots run deep in this town, as someone who has been a dedicated fan, a season ticket holder for both of these teams, and now leading a remarkable ownership group assembled for its ties to Kansas City. We thank all those who worked on this election for their time and commitment. They are here in this room and well beyond. They know who they are. We will take some time to reflect on and process the outcome and find a path forward that works for the Royals and our fans. Thank you.
That was John Sherman last night at their watch party following question 1 failing, again, by a 16-point margin in a stunning margin. Not a stunning defeat, but a stunning margin of defeat.
Correct.
I think is very fair to say. Again, we're handing things off to Vern at 11 o'clock, so a shorter show, and we'll continue to talk more about this tomorrow, and that's why we'll open up the phones tomorrow. It's just with only a 1-hour show. Obviously, didn't make as much sense to do that. But we are reading some of your texts, 913-586-7610. From the 816, I thought this tweet was interesting. This text said, the no vote is a positive thing. They now see how bad their plan was and how poorly they did the process. Now they're able to go back to the table, figure out something better, and come back and not be so arrogant this time and don't demand a new stadium, but work with us and ask what we want out of a new stadium and partnership. No one wants to be blindsided and dominated, no matter if it's a billionaire or somebody else on the street. All we ask is the separate teams and do the process with truth and integrity. Not much to ask for.
So,
go ahead.
No, I was going to, I understand that notion. And if they come back to the table, you are right. The key part of that is, and I think there's a lot of people who just assume, all right, we shot that down, now we can get the right deal for Jackson County. They don't have to negotiate with Jackson County anymore. Maybe they will, but they certainly won't be anymore negotiating with Jackson County alone, which means if they talk to, let's just use Clay as an example, doesn't really matter, but Clay's like, hey, here's what we're off you, this is what we're looking for, we want to do it this way. Well, now they have other people offering different things. They're not obligated to just go back and renegotiate with Jackson County for the terms Jackson County would prefer. That's what the no vote did last night. That's all. I'm not saying it can't be that, but I don't think you can just take that victory lap well, we got what we wanted. We shut them down, and now we can talk about the deal we want. They don't have to talk to you anymore.
Yeah, there's still a chance that they come back to the table and they stay or both even stay. I don't think both are staying in Jackson County. I think there's a decent chance one of them still does. But yeah, like that. If that's why, if you voted no with just the assumption that they're coming back to Jackson County and now you're going to get a better deal, it's usually not how these things go. Again, we have the luxury of a state line, though, and so I'm not worried about them leaving the region. But we do know that I think in the last decade, there's been 5 or 6 teams that did leave because a vote was turned down. They didn't get a second opportunity. Now, again, fortunately, I think this region is going to get a second opportunity for both teams, but it doesn't mean Jackson County is going to get a second opportunity. That's all I'm trying to say. I think all you're trying to say about this as well. Someone else says, and I think essentially I'm still fascinated by this particular reason because that to me tells a little bit about the real viability of a new proposal passing. What was the reason the majority of people, and tomorrow we'll take calls on this, but like, was it
why did you vote
just the rollout and you wanted more transparency and trust? By the way, very fair.
I think it would be a fair complaint.
Very fair complaint. Was it
location?
You wanted them to give you more money? If majority of people was, hey, you thought the owners should pay more, and I don't even disagree with that. But if that was your reason, I don't think a better deal of more money from the teams is happening in Jackson County. I just don't knowing.
You don't think Clark's just going to come to the table with more? I think Sherman was offering a lot more anyway.
Well, yeah, he was offering over $1 billion plus cost overruns. I don't. If you're the teams, why would all of a sudden there be more money from you on the table when now you actually have more offers and more opportunities in other areas? That would make no sense from a business standpoint.
No, I don't. I mean, really what we're asking for is what do we think happens next with both teams? We'd mentioned what we think happened with the Chiefs. Do you think the Royals will take one more round at Jackson County? The reason why I think they will is because I think they want to be downtown bad enough that they'll try to separate themselves and work out a plan that maybe includes the East Village location again.
Well, that's one thing.
And not the cross. I think that was part of it, yes, because the location, honestly, was kind of the height of, were you even planning this? Because you'd mentioned in the first segment, they had given a list of 20 possible locations. Then they gave us some like renderings of locations. And then out of nowhere, it was, hey, we're going to the crossroads. You're like, whoa, back up. How the hell did we get here? I thought we were talking East Village maybe the whole time, or a couple of other parts of downtown. And then it seemed like you were flirting with Clay County for a little bit there. But Crossroads was never even mentioned.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is like I wonder what the breakdown is. And again, we don't have exit poll data or whatever. But if all of a sudden it was just the East Village, but everything else was the same, it was a 16-point victory though. Was that? That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's just one particular thing, but I would love to know the breakdown. I know from texts that we get in the show. For some of you, you voted no because of the Crossroads location. You didn't like the businesses that were being displaced.
Sure.
You and I had this discussion.
We would have both preferred the East Village location.
All along, East Village over Crossroads, and the number one concern was that 80-plus business owners or whatever, it ended up being the exact number, were likely to be displaced. And like, why do that when you've got basically empty land in the East Village? And then we've talked about there was maybe some pressure from the city to move it to the Crossroads site, and then that caused the plan to get completely out of whack and disorganized. So if it was the East Village, I don't know if that's enough to have won. Now, maybe the margin's different. And so that's what I'm saying. Location, cost, not wanting, what was the biggest reason for people? Someone from the 816 said they voted for no for 2 reasons. No transparency and a location. This person says if it was in the East Village, they would have been a yes vote.
Okay.
And I've seen that from a couple different people on the text line.
I mean, 16-point swing, man.
Well, I guess it's technically not a 16-point swing. You don't have to win by 8.
No.
So it's a 9-point. You need, it's a 9-point swing, right? Technically, is what you need to go back.
Yeah.
They lost by 16, but you only got to win by So they need 9 points. They need 9 points back the other way, I guess.
But it's still it's not a small swing.
I guess you know what I'm saying.
I understand.
I'm describing that wrong, but you get what I'm trying to say.
I know what you're trying to say.
They don't have to win by. It's not a swing. They lost by 16 points.
I think they'll try more than one area in this city before they would entertain going elsewhere. I don't know. The problem with the Royals is, do they work in the suburbs in this city? Because that would be the question I would ask myself right now if I were the Royals. Hey, could we be we've always talked about the Battery in Atlanta? And the Battery in Atlanta is not in Atlanta. It's outside of Atlanta. It's in the burbs. Can we fundamentally do that, but do that in Johnson County? Because the way I still look at it, and this is an individual perspective, I think the Chiefs work a lot better in the suburbs because I think football works a lot better in the suburbs than just sticking baseball out there. Like, it's not that it can, and it's not that there's not people who will buy tickets. Johnson County is like 600,000 people. Jackson County is like 750. So it's not like there's a massive population disparity between the two counties, like you would think. You would have some support, and there'd still be people like me who live in Jackson or Cleveland.
And I think 53% or something of Chiefs season ticket holders are from the Kansas side.
Yeah, but that's why the Chiefs work there. But what percentage of the Royals season ticket holders are on that side? And that's where I feel like the Royals have to take another shot in the downtown or near downtown area. I think the most viable site outside of just going to East Village or figuring out a lot of other things that make sense are figuring out a way to work with Clay or those situations. I feel like they have to try one more time down there, but these two teams cannot work together anymore.
No, I think they have to be separate.
Toxic together. Make the Chiefs run their own campaign and you run your own campaign. Hell, the Royals pretty much ran their own campaign the first time anyway, so just separate yourselves and go alone.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about the rollout, but also John Sherman, especially the last month or so, and at least with one group on the no side, painted him basically as this, smug billionaire, which is, I don't.
That's not been my personal interaction with him, but that's fine.
Right. So that's what I'm saying is I think the Royals and the campaign could have done a much better job of making sure. How many people do you think know that his adult life would Kansas City, Missouri? He didn't just move here in the last 5 years. How many people? I think they could have done a better job of presenting him as a Kansas Citian that he is, by the way.
Yeah.
Versus the no side did a very good job at just positioning him as a billionaire. That's all that he wants.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where I think the yes on one side, and particularly the Royals, could have done a better job of making sure people recognize who he is as a person in Kansas City versus letting the opposition paint him in what they wanted him to be painted as.
Yeah. Look,
and I think that was a factor, too.
Of course it was. Because, and again, I think we'll probably try to have him on. Most people would tell you getting to a public vote in general anymore on this kind of issue is going to be tough sledding. We talked about this somewhere really early in the process. The recency of teams having success getting these things passed publicly is much harder than it used to be. You'd be like, damn, they've had a relationship for 50 years. Jackson County and the Royals and the Chiefs have been together for 50, look how long they've functioned together so well. Just the nature of, the United States as a whole and their appetite for funding sport franchises has changed a little bit. So when you get to a public vote, especially a messy public vote in which you have made things look worse, that's the case. I'm like, the Texans well, they go to Kansas. Can we just get an NHL or NBA team? No offense. But what about this process would make an NBA team being like, Kansas City will take care of me?
Yeah, that should
look,
not
and
be
that's just separate. Like Jackson County, they've had a great partnership with the Royals and the Chiefs for a long time, county and team. They might be going through a very public breakup. We don't, maybe this is just the, we need to go see a therapist together. I'd like some couples counseling, maybe. But maybe it's just a full-blown breakup between the county and the teams. In which case, why, if you were a different team, would you be like, yeah, sure, problem solved there? How long do you think it'll be? Till we get an update on what their next plans are? Month? When will someone from the Chiefs or the Royals being like, well, we're, when's the first leaked news story? How about this? When's the first leaked news story about the Royals are talking to blank, the Us Weekly article after a couple breaks up? When's the first leaked article that suggests the Chiefs or Royals are talking to people?
Like a leak that, hey, so-and-so maybe met with officials of blank county or blank state. Yeah, that might be in the next month or so. I think an actual statement or about the next plans or an interview from Sherman or Donovan, that to me is going to be a little bit further down the road because we just got done talking about transparency and having a plan. The worst, you probably don't want to have another interview until you know really what your next step is actually going to be. But yeah, I don't think this thing's not turning around in the fall. I mean, the earliest is probably next spring, don't you think? For either side.
What was the vibe last night? You said you were in the room. You said all the guys. So
I was definitely the poorest person in the room. There's no doubt about that.
Definitely the poorest. There were other TV reporters.
I don't know. I was definitely.
Relax. There were other TV people.
I think so. I was.
That's a tough place to be.
There was a lot of money in that room. Yes.
What kind of shirt did you wear?
I wore the. Well, you weren't on the show yesterday. People were commenting because it was fun. I was wearing a quarter zip with like a dress shirt underneath. I had to do TV as well earlier.
So you gym danced it.
Kind of, yeah.
That's Jim Nance's look.
A little bit. I mean,
dress
it's a lot
shirt
of people.
with a quarter zip. That's Jim Nance's. Like borderline, like he could sue you for trying to for copyright infringement.
I mean, a lot of people wear the dress shirt under
that's Nance's thing.
Well, that's what you recognize.
Plus, it was Vineyard Vines.
It was Vineyard Vines. That part's Jim Nance for sure.
Yes.
No, I was almost.
Andrew wearing Vineyard Vines today. Are you just like in a mode?
I was with. Well, I have a ton of Vineyard Vines stuff. Anyway, I was on with Scott Reese over at Channel 5 earlier, right after the show. You know how we sometimes go and record. And it made sense to wear that. So anyway, what was your actual question?
What was the vibe like in the room?
Yeah, I mean, well, it obviously shifted very quickly because initially when the absentee ballots came in, at that point it was just Jackson County absentee ballots, and it was 56% or so to the no.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, people I talked to at that time were like, you know what? It sounds weird to say now, but at the time they're like. They were actually optimistic because they thought that number, absentee early voting in Jackson County, could have been over 60%. And so they're like, oh, you know what? Not as bad as we thought. Now, it sounds silly to say now, knowing they lost by 16 points. But I'm just telling you, that was initially some of the vibe from talking to people in the room there. And then once the second batch of KC votes came in, then the whole vibe changed. I mean, some people that were out and about went back to the back room, and at that point, you could tell very quickly, oh, this is not happening. And at 9 o'clock, they had, of course, the press conference that most people in the audio that you just heard, and some individuals got out of there very quickly.
Dude, Frank White was practically clicking his heels together.
He was at a different watch party.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
he was excited. He had a big smile on his face. He's a happy man. By the way, if the Chiefs, let's just say hypothetically, the Chiefs entertain Kansas, what's your dream location? Is it the Mission Gateway Project that's died like 80 times? Is that? You know what? Let's finally get something there.
Yeah, let me be clear. Like I said it plenty of times that I wanted it to clearly pass last night. And my entire life, I've gone to games in Jackson County. I have no problem. The border war thing is a real deal. And I know for a lot of people, clearly, we saw the reaction last night after it failed of people on the Kansas side, very excited, and people on the Missouri side, obviously, that were not in Jackson County or did not vote, were disappointed. Like, I have no problem, and I wanted, and I still wouldn't mind at all, the Royals playing downtown and the Chiefs staying where they're at. You're asking my dream scenario? Downtown baseball and the Chiefs with a new stadium out by the Legends. Like, that is, now that the vote has failed, that is my, dream scenario.
I didn't know if there was a different
that
part
option
of Kansas.
that option is real now. Before last night, in the polls closed, I still thought the easiest and the option that made the most sense was for both teams to stay in Jackson County. Now, among those that voted, Jackson County said they're willing to. They didn't think the deal was good enough. So we'll see.
A lot more stress on the situation than before. I still can't get over the fact, as those results came in, because it's a lot different than a presidential election, right? The results come in it was 8 to 8:35, we all knew. So at 8 o'clock, we're like, ooh, that ain't great early. And then by 8:35, we were already texting each other like, well, that's over.
No, you could tell.
I mean,
again, the second batch of votes came in, and it was clear. Once the second batch came in, no, this is not happening. No. And they conceded by, I think Mayor sent out a tweet 8:45 or so, like you said, and by 9 o'clock, Sherman and Donovan were already talking and conceding.
The way Lucas talked, that's another example. This is a whole nother problem with how did this thing seem so, even at the end, it seemed disorganized. Mayor Lucas, a few years ago, said, I don't want to pay the sales tax, pretty much.
Yeah, I think 2019.
Vaguely. Yeah.
You're paraphrasing, but yes, I got you.
Paraphrasing 4 years ago, that's a lot of money. Then, with 48 hours to go, he was like, I'm for the plan. And then last night in conceding was like, they didn't like the plan and we'll get a better one. And you're like, what? No, you can't.
Well, I think he was reacting to clearly Jackson County said they didn't like the plan.
I know, but it seems so wishy-washy to the point that it's like, dude, you had to be on board earlier. Everyone had to be on board earlier. They needed everyone linking arms side by side in this thing for months, which maybe goes back to the rushed part of the equation. I don't think rushed from a number of years before the lease is up rushed, but the second they switched to the crossroads and then the Chiefs took forever to come to the plate with what their actual plans were, the whole thing was jumbled and chaotic. And it's like, in retrospect, I should have seen this blowout coming.
It was noon yesterday, Drew, when we mentioned it, I think noon or in the 1 o'clock hour, when they finally had the final terms of the deal with the crossroads. Like the agreement.
Mm-hmm.
That I think that the agreement that was sent out in the noon hour yesterday.
Yeah.
On Election Day. I mean, that tells you all you need to know about and those things we talked about. I think ultimately you thought it still maybe could pass based off of the possibility of what you now have.
Yeah.
And clearly that wasn't enough of a factor for some people, but possibility being that all options are on the table and the conversations, like you're not a free agent officially until 2031, but maybe your agent's talking behind the scenes. That's what's going on now. And it's not tampering anymore. Let's put it that way. You know what I mean? If we're trying to put it into football terms.
You can do whatever you want.
I think Kling described it well. The Chiefs and Royals, they're in the transfer portal. Doesn't mean they can't come back, but they're seeing what's out there.
We could have been talking Zeke Mayo today to your Jayhawks, you know?
We'll talk Stephon Diggs tomorrow because he's now a member of the Houston Texans. Only a 1-hour show. We're going to hand things off to Vern.